And Shakur, what is your ultimate goal in this sport?
I see myself going to like 47 or 54. I think like at the end of the day, like I'm so skillful. Like I'm telling you, I done been in the gym with guys that fight 160, like
Not
fight
that
real fight.
big. Like I think a lot of people like see pictures, and I be looking a little like,
Yeah.
so they may think like, oh, he's 160. I've never seen 160 a day in my life.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm in the 40s all the time on some like, and I
Just
don't even
regular, like
tell
walk
my weight.
around. Yeah, yeah.
I
You
don't,
know,
I'm gonna tell my weight right now. Fuck
right.
it, just because
Yeah.
I'm in the 40s all the time.
Legitimate, and if he wanted to really believe in himself, if he believed that I was everything that he claimed that I was, and he would have took the fight. It was the most money that he would have ever made, and it's that he would have made all his fights put together.
Friday, July 21st is the deadline for Haney to secure if he's fighting Prograis or he's going to stay in the lightweight division.
Okay, so he has a voluntary option.
No, he has Shakur Stevenson is the mandatory in the lightweight division.
What's going on, you guys? So in those two clips that you just watched, you saw Shakur Stevenson back before he was even at 135 pounds say that he has plans of moving up to 147 and 154, and that he's so skilled that he can compete in those weight classes with those higher, naturally bigger guys. And then fast forward to recent time on Najee Cigar Talks podcast, he addressed moving up and, how his weight is at 140 pounds naturally. That's his walking around weight. So pretty much saying that 147 and 154 are out of the question. And he's been catching a lot of heat for some of the things that he says, especially now with those two clips that I just shared. And people are saying he's inconsistent, that he's a liar, that you can't trust anything he says, this, that, and the other. And to cut him some slack, he said this before he was even at 135 pounds. So my thoughts would have been maybe things didn't go as planned. His body didn't grow into certain weight classes the way he thought he would. And you know what? I don't think it's that big of a deal. Shakur Stevenson isn't the biggest guy. And like he said, he's never even been close to 160. And every time you see a guy fighting out of 147 or a 154, those guys walk around 170, 180 oftentimes. Maybe even higher. I mean, you look at Jared Hurd, a dude looked like a cruiserweight when he fought at 154 in his heyday. But nonetheless, people are still gonna, criticize him for whatever he says and whatever he does. But I was driving home yesterday, and I hopped on BFTB Boxing, his live stream. And I like BFTB. I think he's a cool dude. For the most part, I agree with a lot of the stuff he says in terms of boxing talk. And I give him huge respect because he let me onto his platform and he let me promote my channel. So I have nothing but respect for him. And this isn't trying to, clap back in any disrespectful type of way. I just told him yesterday when I ended up going on his podcast and we ended up chopping it up. And I told him I was going to do my research because there's a lot of things that we discussed on there that I just didn't have a rebuttal for and I just didn't know. I didn't have anything to say back because I just wasn't sure. But I told him I would do my research and, here I am. But one of the things that we had talked about was Shakur Stevenson when he was at 126 pounds. The things we discussed were him ducking a Josh Warrington fight and ducking a Gary Russell fight. Now, I'll address it and I'll try to be quick about it because I want to move on to Devin Haney. So with Josh Warrington, Shakur was calling for that fight before he even became a champion at that weight class. Josh Warrington told him, no, you go get a belt before we fight. And that's what he did. He went and got the WBO vacant. He fought Joet Gonzalez, beat him, and now he was trying to push for a Josh Warrington fight. And supposedly Josh Warrington sent him a contract. Now, I don't know the details on those contracts, but he did send him a contract. At least Frank Warren did. And Shakur Stevenson said that they were lowballing him. And I'm going to trust Shakur Stevenson in this case. I don't think in any world that he would duck a Josh Warrington. Not to say Josh Warrington is a bum or anything, but I would think that he would totally pick him apart and dominate him for 12 rounds, maybe even stop him. But nonetheless, I don't think he ducked a Josh Warrington. The fight just didn't line up. He didn't like the offer, and he was moving out of the weight class. And that goes for the Gary Russell thing as well. Gary Russell, the only thing he ever did to even try to make the fight happen was make a little comment saying that he's so stupid that he would fight me. And that's it. And the only thing you heard after that was 3 or 4 years later when Shakur Stevenson was already at 130, possibly moving up to 35. He might have even been at 35 at the time. You heard him say, oh, he left the weight class because he knew I was pressing for that fight. If you were really pressing for a Shakur Stevenson fight, why didn't you ever go out at 126 to try to make the fight happen? And why didn't you really say anything else? Why didn't you send him an offer when he was at 126 or even at 130? Only thing Gary Russell's been known for, really, these past 10 years, is making headlines in interviews. The dude only fights once every 2 or 3 years, maybe even 5 years. I mean, the last time we saw him fight, I believe, was what? Mark Masego when he lost. And I think Gary Russell was a quality fighter at a period of time, but in his 2 biggest fights, we've seen him come up short. And that was against Lomachenko and then Masego. And he hasn't avenged either one of those losses. But we've seen Gilmore Rigondeaux, who was really a bantamweight, came from 122 all the way to 130 to fight Lomachenko, and he came up short. But guess what? He came out of the weight class to make that fight happen because he wanted to make the fight. We never seen anything like that from Gary Russell. So I'm not even going to spend too much time on it. I don't think he ducked a Gary Russell. And to be truthful, I think he would have washed both of those dudes at 126. That is Shakur Stevenson. Now we move forward to Devin Haney. So when Devin Haney became undisputed, he fought George Kambosos, and a lot of people praised him. At least he praised himself for taking this 22% offer that Kambosos, put on his table to make the undisputed fight, and he had to go to Australia to fight him. George Kambosos is a one-hit wonder. He beat a Teofimo Lopez, yeah, but going to Australia to beat a George Kambosos isn't saying a whole lot. It's not like going to New Jersey to fight Shakur Stevenson in his backyard. The quality of fighters are on totally different levels. George Kambosos, like I said, one-hit wonder. Really, he hasn't won a fight until just very recently against a dude I've never even heard of. But after the Teofimo fight, he lost twice to Devin. He really got picked apart and dominated by a Maxie Hughes. And then he got stopped by Lomachenko. To win over George Kambosos, that isn't too impressive. Yeah, you accomplished the feat of being undisputed, and I give him props for that. That is Devin Haney. But you did it against George Kambosos. And then in Devin Haney's most notable fight, I think his biggest win of his career was against Lomachenko. And you saw in one of the pictures that I posted in this video prior to me talking was the fight purses that Mike Coppinger had posted. That is Devin Haney receiving $4 million for that fight and Lomachenko receiving $3 million for that fight. Now, how come we never heard a 75-25 split when it came to Lomachenko and Devin Haney getting in the ring? It looked like their purses were pretty close. I wouldn't say that's a 75-25 split. A 75-25 split. To me, that looks pretty fair, right? I mean, both of them are good fighters and notable names in that division, but for them to only receive $3 and $4 million, I mean, was Devin Haney really as big of a star as we all thought he was at that time? He definitely was on the rise, don't get me wrong, but when it came time for Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney to make that fight happen, the whole 75-25 split came, and Devin came out saying, oh, it'd been the most money he would have ever made. He would have made more money in this fight than he made in his whole entire career. Now, if you look at the fight purses that are also in this video, Shakur Stevenson was making $3 million. Let's say he's the B-side like Lomachenko was the B-side. He was making $3 million fighting at 130. And supposedly he made well over $3 million when he fought Yoshino for the WBC title eliminator, his debut at the lightweight division. So this whole 75-25 thing, I think it's bogus. I think that realistically, Devin Haney lowballed him, and he's played it really great in the media. Into people really believe that Shakur Stevenson ducked a Devin Haney fight. And I think that's very hard to believe. And I think the only people that are really going to believe that are Devin Haney diehard fans. To be completely honest with you, I don't think Shakur Stevenson would have ducked a Devin Haney fight. We've seen him press it for that fight. We saw him before he even stepped foot in the lightweight division. I don't know the commentator's name or the analysis guy for ESPN, but the post-fight interview when he fought Robson, he said, let's make that fight happen. And then you see Devin Haney immediately after beating Lomachenko. Guess who's in the ring? Shakur Stevenson. Guess who was calling who out immediately after he stepped foot and before he stepped foot in the lightweight division? Now Shakur Stevenson calling out Devin Haney, saying he's always got the best of Devin Haney. To me, I think the 75-25, the mistake that Shakur Stevenson made was not accepting that offer and calling the bluff. I think had he done that, then things would have played out differently. Because I don't think Devin Haney really wanted that fight at all. I think, Devin Haney was on his tail end of being at 135. The weight could have been a huge factor into him going up to 140. Him not being able to make 135 anymore. And I think that's ultimately one of the main reasons. I don't think Devin Haney is scared of Shakur. I just think that he was outgrowing the weight class, and Shakur Stevenson posed, enough of a threat for him to want to be at 100% and weight not be an issue when that fight comes. So all in all, there's so many other details that go into this, but to say that Shakur Stevenson is ducking a Devin Haney, he said, let's make the fight at 140. Realistically, Devin Haney's only fought, twice at 140? He fought Regis, he looked great. He fought Ryan Garcia, he looked great physically. You never heard anything about him struggling to make 140 when he fought Ryan. So I don't think Devin Haney's a natural 147 guy, and I don't even think 147 suits him. Devin Haney isn't a big puncher. He's got boxing skill, and he could probably compete with just skill alone, but I think 147 might be a little too tough for him, to be completely honest. I think his best bet is staying at a 140, and that would be a huge fight with him and Shakur Stevenson. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm sure BFTB is going to, respond or possibly reach out, and we can chop it up and discuss these things, but let me know what you guys think. Do you think Shakur Stevenson was ducking a Devin Haney fight? And who do you guys favor in that fight, assuming that it's at 140? And who would you have favored when Devin Haney was at 135? Would you have favored him, or would you have favored Shakur? Let me know. Hate, like, comment, subscribe.
What's your response to that?
Haney loves to give y'all a whole bunch of bullshit to make y'all feel good. He gonna give you 3 offers. I never heard no 3 offers. We didn't get past the first part. The first part was when they came to me with the bullshit. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. WBC, what up? I don't know nothing about no other offers that never came to me, never came to my desk. So Haney telling y'all what he like to do for y'all. He like to lie to y'all all day, and y'all fall for that shit. So it's on y'all.
There was an offer that was sent to him from Devin, the 20 or 25% for a fight. Was there any real substance behind that?
No. I don't think Haney was particularly anxious to fight Shakur because it's frankly probably a fight that Shakur is going to win.
All the way up until now, brother. That's why I told him, I said, inside the weight classes, when we move it, just like it's moving now, brother, if it's too hot at 30, we already ready to go to 40, brother.